My name is Dorothy Williams, but everyone calls me Dot. I'm 67, and I thought I'd seen every shade of disappointment life could offer. That was before the night my son Marcus and his wife Ashley shoved me out their front door, luggage at my feet, as if I were some stranger off the street. Ashley's eyes glittered with cruelty as she said, "We don't need your pathetic little pension anymore. You're a burden, Dot, just disappear." Marcus stood beside her, arms crossed, nodding. "She's right, Mom, we're set now. $40 million changes everything." I should have cried, but instead a laugh bubbled out. It startled them. "Sweethearts," I said softly, "did you even check whose name is on that ticket?" The air froze. They stared at me, unblinking. "But let me take you back 3 weeks, to the morning it all began. Before we continue, tell me, where are you watching from today? Drop it in the comments. If stories like this one resonate with you, hit subscribe. Cedar Falls, Iowa isn't much to look at on a map, but it's been my whole world for nearly 7 decades. A town where winters bite hard and summers smell like cut grass and grilled corn. Life here isn't fancy, but it's predictable. Or at least, it was. For the past 32 years, my Fridays have followed the same ritual. No matter the weather, no matter what bills were piled up, I'd walk down to Murphy's Corner store and buy a single lottery ticket. Always the same numbers. Always the same whispered prayer to whoever might be listening. Some people go to church for their weekly ritual. Me, I went to Murphy's. The ticket mattered to me not just for what it promised, but for what it symbolized. Hope, consistency, and the chance, however small, that life might surprise me for the better. I would fold it carefully and slide it into my wallet, behind the photo of my late husband, Harold. His smile still warmed me, even after 2 years of widowhood. Alongside the ticket, I carried a small silver key, dulled with age. Harold had given it to me the day we bought our house, pressing it into my palm and whispering, "This is the start of everything, Dot." It opened the cedar box he'd built with his own hands, a box that now lived at the foot of my bed. Inside were our marriage papers, his will, old deeds, and little scraps of life that meant nothing to the world but everything to me. Paper and ink, proof of who we were, of what we owned, of what mattered. Harold used to say, "Names matter on paper, Dot. They always have." I didn't realize back then just how much those words would echo. Since Harold passed, my life had shrunk down. I lived in what Ashley, my daughter-in-law, liked to call the guest room. Funny word, guest. Guests are welcomed. Guests are offered tea. Guests are told to hand over their entire Social Security check as rent. Yet every month, like clockwork, I signed over nearly everything I had just for the right to exist in a corner of their house. Marcus had been my only child. When I held him for the first time, I thought the world had finally given me something perfect. I used to bring him to Murphy's when he was little, his small hands sticky from penny candy. Jimmy Murphy, now the man behind the counter, was just a boy back then. He remembers Marcus with a gap-toothed smile, laughing as he picked out licorice. Those were good days, when love was simple and unconditional. But time changes people, or maybe greed reveals what's been there all along. The boy who once clung to my hand now looked through me as though I were an obligation he couldn't wait to be rid of. And Ashley? Well, Ashley never hid her disdain. She wore it like perfume. "You're dead weight, Dot," she sneered once when Marcus wasn't around. A grown woman leeching off her own son. It's pathetic. If it were up to me, you'd be in a nursing home. I remember gripping the silver key in my pocket so hard it left a mark on my skin. I wanted to shout back, to defend myself, but what would it change? So I swallowed the words, the way I'd swallowed so many others, and kept my dignity instead. Marcus never defended me. He always shrugged, half smiling, half ashamed. "Ashley's just blunt, Mom." Don't take it so seriously, but I knew better. He believed her. Or maybe he wanted to. Ashley had a way of twisting things until Marcus thought her words were his own thoughts. So I played the role of the quiet widow. I cooked meals no one thanked me for, folded laundry that never seemed to belong to me, and made myself small in the corners of the house. Yet every Friday morning I still made my walk to Murphy's. That small ritual was mine and mine alone. I'd stand at the counter, hand over $5, and smile as Jimmy printed the ticket. "The usual?" he'd always ask. And I'd nod, tucking the slip of paper safely away. My numbers had stories: 7 for the day Harold and I married, 14 for Marcus's birthday, 23 for our anniversary, 31 for the age I finally bought myself a sewing machine, 45 because Harold always joked he'd live to be 45 forever, and Powerball 18, the age Marcus was when he left for college, full of promise. Those numbers weren't just digits. They were a map of my life, a private history written in ink and chance. Still, I never really believed I'd win. Hope, yes. Belief, no. The ticket was more of a conversation between me and Harold, a weekly promise that I was still trying, that I hadn't given up. At night, I would sometimes unlock the cedar box with Harold's key, spread out the papers, and let my fingers trace the ink of our marriage certificate. Proof that once I was loved without condition. Proof that my name mattered. That I wasn't invisible. Ashley hated that box. She once called it a pile of junk, but I guarded it fiercely. She didn't understand. Papers and names have power. That's something Harold drilled into me. Ownership isn't about who shouts loudest, it's about whose name is written in black and white. So when Ashley smirked at me across the dinner table, rolling her eyes at my thrift store sweater, I stayed quiet. When Marcus avoided my gaze, I stayed quiet. But in my heart, I held on to Harold's lesson: names matter on paper, they always have. That phrase became my shield. I didn't know yet how much I'd need it. But soon, I'd learn just how far those little slips of paper, tickets, deeds, wills, could tip the balance of power. For now, though, I just kept walking to Murphy's, clutching my $5, whispering a small prayer, and folding each ticket into the story of my life. Because one day, the world would change in ways Marcus and Ashley could never have imagined, and when it did, I would no longer be the silent guest in their house. The night the numbers were announced, I was sitting at the kitchen table with a chipped mug of tea, listening to the old radio that crackled more than it sang. It was just background noise most evenings, a way to feel less alone. But when the announcer's voice shifted to that bright, practiced excitement reserved for the Powerball, my hand stilled on the mug. "One lucky ticket holder will be waking up a millionaire tonight," he said, dragging out the suspense. "Tonight's numbers are 74, 23, 31, 45, and the Powerball 18. My heart leapt into my throat. I snatched my purse from the chair beside me, fumbling for my wallet. The ticket slipped free, soft and worn from being handled too much. My eyes scanned the row of digits. Quote, 74, 23, 31, 45. Powerball 18. Every number. Mine. I whispered it aloud once, then again, my voice trembling. After 32 years of quiet ritual, after decades of whispered prayers, the impossible had happened. My numbers. My life. The kitchen spun around me, and I pressed a hand to my chest, whispering Harold's name like he might be listening from somewhere above. Before I could even take a full breath, Ashley swept into the room, phone in hand, shrieking. "Marcus! Marcus, we did it. We won." I froze, my ticket still clutched in my palm. Marcus came barreling down the stairs, eyes wide, hair a mess. "What are you talking about?" Ashley shoved her phone at him, screen glowing with the numbers. "Those are ours, the ticket we bought." Marcus whooped so loud the windows rattled. He grabbed Ashley, spinning her around the kitchen, both of them laughing like children on Christmas morning. I tried to speak, but the words tangled. "No, that's..." Ashley cut me off, breathless with glee. "Oh my God, Marcus, do you realize what this means? $40 million. We're rich." Marcus punched the air. "Mom, can you believe it? We hit the jackpot." I sat frozen, my fingers closing tighter around the paper in my hand. "Marcus, sweetheart, the ticket." But before I could finish, Ashley plopped down across from me, eyes sparkling with triumph. "Don't ruin this, Dot. We all know it's ours. You probably just dreamed about playing." Marcus nodded eagerly, not even looking at my face. "Yeah, Mom, don't confuse yourself. You didn't buy this one." I wanted to scream, to slam the ticket on the table and force them to see. But the way they were wrapped up in each other, drunk on their imagined victory, I knew it would fall on deaf ears. The house became a circus in the next hour. Ashley called her parents, shrieking into the phone. Marcus sent a text to half the town. Neighbors showed up on the porch, clapping Marcus on the back, hugging Ashley like she was some kind of queen. Champagne corks popped, music blared, and all the while I sat in my chair, invisible, the winning ticket pressed against my palm. "Congratulations," people said. "You two deserve it." Not once did anyone glance at me. Not once did anyone think to ask whose name was actually printed on the slip of paper. When I finally gathered the courage to open my mouth, Ashley was the first to silence me. Don't embarrass yourself. This is Marcus's win." "Our win. You had nothing to do with it." Her words sliced through me, sharper than broken glass. Marcus didn't defend me. He didn't even meet my eyes. Instead, he puffed his chest out, basking in the praise. "We're finally out of the grind, Mom. No more scraping by. We'll be living in style now," Ashley added. "First thing, we're selling this dump and moving into something worthy of our new life. Maybe Florida, maybe California. Somewhere warm. We'll have a pool, a chef, real furniture." "And you, Dot?" She paused, smiling like a cat with a mouse. "Well, you'll be just fine. You've got your little pension." "You'll manage." The room laughed, neighbors raising their glasses as if her cruelty were just a joke. My cheeks burned, but I stayed silent. I'd learned long ago that dignity is sometimes found in silence. That night, as the celebration roared around me, I slipped upstairs to my room, the guest room, and locked the door. I unfolded the ticket one more time and laid it gently on the cedar box. The numbers stared back at me, undeniable. My name wasn't just written in my memory of buying it, it was written in black ink, recorded at the store, registered with the Lottery Commission. Ashley's voice echoed from downstairs, shrill with excitement. Marcus laughed along, already drunk on promises of luxury. They thought they had won. They thought I was irrelevant, but I knew the truth. Harold's words whispered back to me as I touched the silver key on the box. "Names matter on paper. They always have." So I folded the ticket once more, tucked it carefully into the cedar box, and allowed myself the smallest smile. I wouldn't shout. I wouldn't fight them tonight, because this wasn't just about money. It was about something far greater, and when the time came, the truth would speak louder than Ashley's sneers or Marcus's silence. They could dance, they could dream, they could plan their golden life, but the numbers and my name were mine. The morning after the winning numbers were announced, the house looked as though a parade had marched through it. Empty bottles littered the counters, confetti from party poppers clung to the carpet, and Ashley was already on the phone again, her voice shrill with glee. "Yes, that's right," she cooed. "We're the winners. 40 million. Oh, we'll definitely be giving an exclusive interview. You can reach out to my assistant once we get things sorted." Her assistant, I nearly choked on my tea. Marcus strutted around like a man who had been crowned king overnight. He was scrolling through his phone, showing off pictures of sports cars and beachfront homes. "Ashley, what do you think of this one, red or black?" he asked, spinning his screen toward her. She didn't even look up from her call. "Both, Marcus." Obviously both. It stunned me, the speed with which they transformed. Before the money had even cleared, before the Lottery Commission had verified a thing, they were already living as though their bank account overflowed. Within days, a parade of strangers tramped through the house, lawyers, financial advisors, designers with fabric swatches. I sat in my chair by the window, invisible as ever, listening as they spoke in fast voices about trusts, offshore accounts, investment portfolios. Ashley waved her manicured hands, dismissing anything that didn't glitter. No, we want it flashier. Something that screamed success. People need to know we're not like everyone else anymore. Marcus nodded, puffed up beside her. "Yeah, spare no expense. We're not going to live small. This is our shot." I wanted to laugh, though the sound might have broken me if it escaped. They didn't even realize the money wasn't theirs. They were building castles on air, houses on sand. Meanwhile, I felt myself shrinking smaller by the day. I cooked meals they barely touched. I picked up discarded papers, receipts, and half-empty coffee cups left on the floor. They didn't thank me. They didn't even see me. One afternoon, while they were out test driving luxury cars, I went to my cedar box. With trembling fingers, I unlocked it with Harold's silver key. The hinges creaked as though the box itself knew secrets were being stirred. Inside, beneath his will and our marriage certificate, I placed the folded ticket, careful as though it were made of glass. Alongside it, I kept a copy of the lottery receipt Jimmy had printed for me when I bought it. My name was there. Not Marcus. Not Ashley. Mine. I traced the ink with my fingertip, whispering Harold's words. Paper and ink decide who truly owns what. It was true of our first home, true of his will, and it was true of this ticket. That night, I dreamed of Harold's voice again, steady as ever. Don't be afraid, Dot. You know what's yours. The paper will speak for you. The next morning, I walked to Murphy's corner store. The bell above the door jingled just as it had every Friday for decades. Jimmy was behind the counter, same boyish face even at 25. He looked up, surprised. Mrs. Williams, haven't seen you since, he trailed off, realizing. Since the big win. I smiled faintly. That's right. Jimmy, do you remember who bought that ticket? He blinked. Of course. You did. Same numbers you always play. I printed it myself. Relief flooded me, though I kept my expression calm. Would you be willing to say that if someone asked? He leaned on the counter, earnest. Mrs. Williams, you've been buying the same ticket from me every Friday since I was in middle school. Everybody in this town knows it's yours. His certainty steadied me. For the first time since the chaos began, I felt something like control return. As I walked home, the air felt sharper, cleaner. I knew then I didn't need to shout. I didn't need to beg Marcus or argue with Ashley. The truth was already mine. It lived in ink, in names, in memory. Back at the house, Marcus and Ashley were parading a designer through my guest room, talking about ripping out walls. Ashley wrinkled her nose. This space is wasted. We'll make it a dressing room. Marcus can move his mother to a small rental somewhere. She doesn't need much. The designer nodded politely, scribbling notes. I stood in the doorway, unseen, and clutched the silver key in my pocket until it pressed painfully into my palm. They had already erased me in their minds, written me out of the picture, but I knew better. Later that evening, Ashley waved a glossy magazine in my face. Look, Dot. They want to feature us. A whole spread about our journey to fortune. Isn't that fabulous? Her grin was wolfish, daring me to challenge her. I forced a small smile. Fabulous. Inside, though, my resolve hardened. Each night I locked myself in my room, laying the ticket on Harold's papers, tracing the receipt again and again. The ink was steady, unwavering, a truth no one could twist. I began to prepare quietly, reading about the lottery's claim process, about legal rights, about fraud cases where names on tickets were contested. I made lists, tucked notes into the cedar box, and prayed for patience. Because this wasn't just a fight for money, it was a fight for dignity. For proof that I wasn't the useless, invisible woman Ashley claimed I was. The house grew gaudier by the day, new furniture arriving, a garish chandelier installed in the entryway, gold curtains that looked ridiculous against the peeling paint of the old walls. Marcus and Ashley beamed, parading friends through as though their riches were already secured. But I stayed quiet, watching, waiting. And every night, when the noise of their boasting finally died down, I touched Harold's silver key, whispering his words once more. Paper and ink decide who truly owns what. The call came on a Tuesday morning, just as Ashley was bossing delivery men around the living room, demanding they move the new velvet sofa an inch to the left. The phone rang on the side table, and I answered out of habit. This is the Iowa State Lottery Commission, a clear voice said. We're calling to verify the identity of the winning ticket holder. For a moment, my breath caught. I opened my mouth, but before I could say a word, Ashley snatched the receiver from my hand. Yes, this is Mrs. Marcus Williams, she chirped. We've been expecting your call. Marcus appeared from upstairs, his shirt half-buttoned, hair wild. Is it them? Ashley pressed the phone against her chest, grinning. Yes, we've got this. I reached out gently. Ashley, they'll need to speak to me. She shoved my hand away. Don't be ridiculous, Dot. You'll just confuse them. Go sit down. Her words stung, but I held my ground. The commission officer asked a series of questions. Ticket number, purchase location, claimant's name. Ashley answered swiftly, confidence dripping from every syllable. But then the officer paused. Ma'am, according to our records, the registered purchaser of the winning ticket is Dorothy Williams. Silence thickened the room. Marcus's head snapped toward me. Ashley's face drained of color. There must be some mistake, she stammered. It was a family purchase. My husband and I bought it for his mother. Isn't that right, Dot? She turned on me with blazing eyes, daring me to contradict her. I let the pause hang, long enough for the weight of truth to settle. Finally, I gave a small nod. The numbers are mine. Ashley forced a laugh that sounded more like a choke. You see? She's confused. She buys tickets every week and thinks this one's hers. She's getting older, not entirely reliable. The officer's voice remained steady. Regardless, the ticket stub lists Dorothy Williams as the claimant. Without her signature and identification, the prize cannot be released. Ashley's nails dug into Marcus's arm. He looked from me to the phone, his face a storm of panic and disbelief. Mom, you'll sign with us, right? It's a family win. My hands folded neatly in my lap. We'll see. Ashley jumped back on the line, her voice sugary sweet. Of course, it's just a misunderstanding. We'll work it out as a family. The call ended soon after, leaving the living room thick with tension. Ashley rounded on me the second the receiver clicked. You senile old bat, do you have any idea what you just did? Marcus's voice trembled with anger. Mom, don't ruin this. Everyone thinks it's ours already. You can't take this from me. I stood slowly, smoothing my sweater. I haven't taken anything. I only answered a question honestly. Ashley hissed, if you love your son at all, you'll keep quiet. Sign what we put in front of you, and you'll get something. I didn't answer. I simply walked to my room, closing the door softly behind me. Inside, I pulled out the cedar box, unlocked it with Harold's key, and laid the ticket carefully beside the marriage certificate, the will, the deeds. I opened a new folder, tucking inside the paperwork I'd started filing with the Lottery Commission. Quietly, deliberately, I began the process of securing my claim. No shouting, no theatrics. Just paper and ink. In the days that followed, Marcus and Ashley spun their tale to anyone who would listen. They called it a family agreement. They told neighbors I was confused, that the ticket had been bought with their money. They smiled wide for anyone who asked, brushing off questions with the ease of practiced liars. But behind closed doors, the cracks showed. Ashley snapped at Marcus, hissing about, what if she doesn't cooperate? Marcus avoided me, unable to look me in the eye. And me? I stayed quiet. I cooked, I folded laundry, I listened. All the while, I kept my documents safe, my preparations moving forward. One evening, Ashley cornered me in the kitchen. Her perfume was sharp, her smile brittle. Dot, you don't really want this fight. Think of the stress. Think of Marcus. Just let us handle it. You'll have a roof over your head and enough pocket money for bingo. Isn't that enough? I dried my hands on a dish towel, meeting her gaze steadily. We'll see. Her smile faltered. She muttered something under her breath and stormed upstairs. That night, as I placed the papers back in the cedar box, I whispered Harold's words once more. Paper and ink decide who truly owns what. For the first time, I didn't just believe them. I felt them working in my favor. Marcus and Ashley still thought I was weak, that I wouldn't stand up. They mistook silence for surrender. But silence was only my cover, because the truth was already written. And soon, it would speak louder than any of their lies. The storm broke over breakfast. I was sipping my coffee at the kitchen table when Marcus and Ashley walked in together, a pair of generals marching into battle. Ashley carried a thick folder of papers, her expression smug, predatory. Dot, she said, sliding the folder in front of me. It's time to make this official. Sign your claim over to us. The Lottery Commission just needs your signature, then we can move forward as a family. Marcus hovered behind her, arms crossed, jaw tight. I glanced down at the papers. Typed clauses, bold headings, promises of shared ownership. At the bottom, a line for my name. I folded the folder shut. No, thank you. Ashley's eyes narrowed. Excuse me? I set my cup down gently. I said no. Her voice rose, sharp as broken glass. Don't play games, Dot. This money isn't yours, it's ours. You were just the hand that bought the ticket. Marcus cleared his throat, but it wasn't to defend me. Mom, she's right. You know Ashley and I need this. We'll use it to build a future, start a family. What do you even need 40 million for? You're old. The words cut deeper than he realized. Still, I kept my voice steady. Marcus, I have no intention of signing anything. Ashley's lip curled. You stubborn, selfish woman. No wonder Harold's gone. He probably died just to get away from you. The cruelty hit like a slap, but I refused to flinch. My fingers brushed the silver key around my neck. Harold's key, the one that opened the cedar box where our likes documents rested. His words rang in my mind. Paper and ink decide who truly owns what. I lifted my chin. My answer stands. Ashley slammed her palms on the table. Fine. Then we'll take you to court. We'll prove you're senile. You'll embarrass yourself in front of the entire state. Is that what you want? Marcus leaned in, his face hard. Mom, don't drag this out. Just sign. I looked at my son, the boy who once held my hand at Murphy's corner store, begging for penny candy. The man standing before me bore no resemblance to that child. Greed had hollowed him out. I won't, I said softly. The silence afterward buzzed with fury. From that day forward, the household became a battlefield. Ashley strutted through the halls like a queen in waiting, redecorating every corner. Chandeliers appeared in the dining room. Gold-trimmed mirrors covered the walls. Deliveries of designer clothes arrived daily. Marcus beamed beside her, parading their supposed fortune to anyone who would listen. But behind the glitter, the cracks widened. Neighbors whispered when they saw the shiny sports car parked outside, bought on credit. The local paper ran a headline, Cedar Falls couple wins 40 million Powerball. My name was nowhere mentioned. It didn't matter. Ashley made sure every interview framed it as their win. At Murphy's corner store, people congratulated Marcus and Ashley while casting me pitying looks. Dot, isn't it wonderful? They'd say. I smiled politely, never correcting them. Let them believe the show. Inside, I kept my quiet watch. The lawyers arrived one afternoon, slick suits and briefcases snapping open like jaws. Ashley ushered them into the dining room, offering wine as if she already lived in a mansion. They explained their strategy to petition the court for joint ownership, claiming I was unfit. I listened from the kitchen doorway, my hands folded. When Ashley noticed me, she smirked. Don't worry, Dot. Once this is all settled, you'll get an allowance. Enough to keep you comfortable. I gave a small nod and returned to my room. On my desk, I spread out my own papers, the signed ticket, the receipt with my name, the preliminary forms already filed with the Lottery Commission. Neat, undeniable. Every night I opened Harold's cedar box and checked the documents, as though touching them infused me with his strength. The silver key never left my neck. It reminded me of his voice. Stay calm, Dot. Paper and ink win wars quietly. Meanwhile, Marcus and Ashley lived as though the money was already in their hands. They threw parties for neighbors, charging champagne to maxed-out credit cards. They promised friends vacations in Paris, spoke of buying a yacht for summers on Lake Michigan. The town buzzed with gossip. Some admired them, others whispered about arrogance. More than once I overheard, "Isn't it odd, Dot's never mentioned?" Ashley brushed it all aside. She's old, she doesn't matter, but I mattered. More than she knew, the media frenzy grew louder each week. Reporters parked outside, cameras flashing. Ashley thrived on it, posing at the front door, Marcus grinning stiffly at her side. And still, I stayed silent. One night, Marcus cornered me in the hallway. His voice was low, almost pleading. Mom, why are you doing this? Just sign and let us handle it. We'll take care of you. I touched his cheek the way I had when he was a boy. Marcus, you've already shown me how you take care of me. He flinched, pulled away, and said nothing more. The days crawled forward. Ashley raged louder, lawyers threatened harder, neighbors whispered longer. but I remained calm, steady, unshaken. I was waiting, just as Harold taught me. Because truth doesn't need to scream. It only needs to be written. And soon, the writing would speak for itself. The storm broke over breakfast. I was sipping my coffee at the kitchen table when Marcus and Ashley walked in together, a pair of generals marching into battle. Ashley carried a thick folder of papers, her expression smug, predatory. "Dot," she said, sliding the folder in front of me, "it's time to make this official. Sign your claim over to us. The Lottery Commission just needs your signature, then we can move forward as a family." Marcus hovered behind her, arms crossed, jaw tight. I glanced down at the papers, tight clauses, bold headings, promises of shared ownership. At the bottom, a line from my name. I folded the folder shut. "No, thank you." Ashley's eyes narrowed. "Excuse me?" I set my cup down gently. "I said no." Her voice rose, sharp as broken glass. "Don't play games, Dot. This money isn't yours. It's ours. You were just the hand that bought the ticket." Marcus cleared his throat, but it wasn't to defend me. "Mom, she's right. You know Ashley and I need this. We'll use it to build a future, start a family. What do you even need 40 million for?" "You're old." The words cut deeper than he realized. Still, I kept my voice steady. "Marcus, I have no intention of signing anything." Ashley's lip curled. "You stubborn, selfish woman. No wonder Harold's gone. He probably died just to get away from you." The cruelty hit like a slap, but I refused to flinch. My fingers brushed the silver key around my neck, Harold's key, the one that opened the cedar box where our life's documents rested. His words rang in my mind. Paper and ink decide who truly owns what. I lifted my chin. My answer stands. Ashley slammed her palms on the table. "Fine, then we'll take you to court. We'll prove you're senile. You'll embarrass yourself in front of the entire state." "Is that what you want?" Marcus leaned in, his face hard. "Mom, don't drag this out. Just sign." I looked at my son, the boy who once held my hand at Murphy's corner store, begging for penny candy. The man standing before me bore no resemblance to that child. Greed had hollowed him out. "I won't," I said softly. The silence afterward buzzed with fury. From that day forward, the household became a battlefield. Ashley strutted through the halls like a queen in waiting, redecorating every corner. Chandeliers appeared in the dining room. Gold-trimmed mirrors covered the walls. Deliveries of designer clothes arrived daily. Marcus beamed beside her, parading their supposed fortune to anyone who would listen. But behind the glitter, the cracks widened. Neighbors whispered when they saw the shiny sports car parked outside, bought on credit. The local paper ran a headline, "Cedar Falls, couple wins 40 million Powerball." My name was nowhere mentioned. It didn't matter. Ashley made sure every interview framed it as their win. At Murphy's corner store, people congratulated Marcus and Ashley while casting me pitying looks. "Dot, isn't it wonderful?" they'd say. I smiled politely, never correcting them. Let them believe the show. Inside, I kept my quiet watch. The lawyers arrived one afternoon, slick suits and briefcases snapping open like jaws. Ashley ushered them into the dining room, offering wine as if she already lived in a mansion. They explained their strategy, to petition the court for joint ownership, claiming I was unfit. I listened from the kitchen doorway, my hands folded. When Ashley noticed me, she smirked. "Don't worry, Dot. Once this is all settled, you'll get an allowance, enough to keep you comfortable." I gave a small nod and returned to my room. On my desk, I spread out my own papers, the signed ticket, the receipt with my name, the preliminary forms already filed with the Lottery Commission, neat, undeniable. Every night, I opened Harold's cedar box and checked the documents, as though touching them infused me with his strength. The silver key never left my neck. It reminded me of his voice, "Stay calm, Dot. Paper and ink win wars quietly." Meanwhile, Marcus and Ashley lived as though the money was already in their hands. They threw parties for neighbors, charging champagne to maxed-out credit cards. They promised friends vacations in Paris, spoke of buying a yacht for summers on Lake Michigan. The town buzzed with gossip. Some admired them, others whispered about arrogance. More than once I overheard, "Isn't it odd Dot's never mentioned?" Ashley brushed it all aside. She's old. She doesn't matter. But I mattered more than she knew. The media frenzy grew louder each week. Reporters parked outside, cameras flashing. Ashley thrived on it, posing at the front door, Marcus grinning stiffly at her side. And still, I stayed silent. One night, Marcus cornered me in the hallway. His voice was low, almost pleading. "Mom, why are you doing this? Just sign and let us handle it. We'll take care of you." I touched his cheek the way I had when he was a boy. "Marcus, you've already shown me how you take care of me." He flinched, pulled away, and said nothing more. The days crawled forward. Ashley raged louder, lawyers threatened harder, neighbors whispered longer. But I remained calm, steady, unshaken. I was waiting, just as Harold taught me. Because truth doesn't need to scream. It only needs to be written. And soon, the writing would speak for itself. The frenzy burned itself out in a matter of months. Reporters moved on to fresher scandals, leaving only the wreckage behind. Marcus and Ashley's gilded world began to crumble as quickly as it had been built. The bills arrived before the winnings did, and the credit cards that had seemed like magic wands now turned into shackles. The sports car vanished one morning, towed away while curious neighbors watched from their porches. The glittering chandeliers were carted off next, repossessed along with most of the new furniture. Even the designer clothes, barely worn, were boxed and claimed by stores demanding payment. I watched it all from a distance, no longer living under that roof. By then, I had moved into a small but bright home on the other side of Cedar Falls. The mortgage was mine alone, signed in my name, with my savings and the first installment of lottery winnings paying for it outright. My porch faced the sunrise, and each morning I drank coffee there in peace, the silver key resting against my chest. Ashley didn't last. The moment the bank accounts ran dry, she packed her bags, sneering at Marcus as though he were to blame for her downfall. I heard through whispers at Murphy's Corner store that she'd run back to her parents in Chicago, swearing she deserved better. Marcus stayed behind in the wreckage, stripped of wealth, stripped of companionship, stripped even of pride. It was inevitable he would find his way to me. One rainy evening, I heard the knock at my door. When I opened it, Marcus stood there, soaked to the bone, shoulders hunched. The proud, arrogant man who had once ordered me to disappear now looked like the lost boy who used to hold my hand. "Mom," he whispered. His eyes were rimmed red. "I don't have anywhere else to go. I need help." For a long moment, I just studied him. The rain pattered on the porch roof, steady as a heartbeat. "Come inside," I said at last. I led him to the kitchen table, the same kind of table where all our battles had begun. I set a cup of tea in front of him, and he stared at it as though he'd forgotten what kindness tasted like. "Everything's gone," he admitted. "The cars, the house, Ashley. I thought money would fix everything, but it destroyed everything. I don't know what to do." There was a time when I would have rushed to comfort him, to smooth over his mistakes, to rescue him from himself. But Harold's words lived in me now, steady as scripture. Paper and ink decide who truly owns what. And ownership meant responsibility too. I reached for the cedar box that sat on a shelf near the window, Harold's box. I set it between us, the wood gleaming softly in the kitchen light. Marcus frowned, confused. "What's this?" I handed him the silver key from around my neck. For the first time in years, I let it go. "Open it." His hands trembled as he fit the key into the lock and lifted the lid. Inside, there was only one envelope. He pulled it out slowly, his name written across the front in Harold's steady handwriting. Marcus glanced at me, but I nodded for him to read. He unfolded the letter, and his lips moved as he read the short message aloud. "Work for what you want, son. Love, Dad." The silence that followed felt sacred. Marcus's eyes filled, tears streaking down his cheeks, blending with the rain still clinging to him. He pressed the letter to his chest, as if trying to anchor himself with Harold's words. "Dad believed in me," he whispered, "and I wasted everything." I reached across the table, not to rescue him, but to ground him. My hand covered his briefly. "He believed you could learn." "That's different." Marcus bowed his head. For the first time, he didn't argue. He didn't blame. He simply sat with the weight of his choices. When he finally looked up, I said, "Marcus, I won't give you money. That wouldn't help you now. But I'll give you this chance to start again, to live the way your father wanted you to. What you do from here is up to you." He nodded, a broken man, but, perhaps, one with the faintest spark of humility beginning to grow. After he left that night, clutching Harold's letter, I stood at the window and watched him walk into the rain. For the first time in years, I felt Harold's presence beside me, strong and steady. I had kept my dignity. I had honored his teachings. And at last, I believed he was proud of me. The cedar box sat empty now, but it wasn't a void. It was a reminder. Keys, papers, names, symbols of responsibility and truth. They had carried me through betrayal, humiliation, and greed. They had returned me to peace. And in that quiet house, with rain soft against the glass, I felt the full circle close. When I sit on my porch in the quiet hours of morning, a cup of coffee warming my hands, I think about how everything could have gone differently. If I had given in, if I had let fear of being called senile or a burden silence me, if I had bowed my head and signed away my name, but I didn't. And that's what this whole journey has reminded me. Sometimes strength is quiet. Sometimes power isn't in shouting or fighting, but in waiting, holding on to truth, and knowing that paper and ink, those little black letters spelling your name, can outlast all the noise in the world. The lottery ticket was just paper. The silver key from Harold was just metal. The cedar box was just wood. But together, they became symbols of a much bigger lesson, that what we safeguard, what we honor, will carry us through storms of betrayal and greed. I lost pieces of my heart the day Marcus stood beside Ashley and told me I was nothing. No mother ever wants to hear those words. But in losing that piece, I gained something stronger, clarity. The moment I laughed and said, "Did you even check whose name is on that ticket?" I knew Harold was beside me. His lessons had taken root. Now Marcus stands at a crossroads. He has his father's words in his hands, the chance to rebuild. I won't lie. Part of me aches to fix it for him, to shield him the way I did when he was a boy. But another part of me knows that love doesn't always mean rescuing. Sometimes it means stepping back and letting someone earn their way forward. Ashley is gone, swept away like smoke. Marcus is left with himself. And me, I am left with peace. For the first time in years, I feel like my life is my own again. To the women listening, especially those around my age, 50, 60, 70, you know what I mean when I say we are often treated as if we've had our turn, as if we're just taking up space. But I promise you this, you matter. Your name matters. Your voice, your choices, your dignity, they all matter. Don't ever let anyone convince you otherwise. If you have been silenced, underestimated, or made to feel like dead weight, I want you to hear me now. Stand firm. Guard your name, your papers, your worth. Don't hand it over just because someone louder tells you to. You may feel small, but small things, like ink on paper, carry enormous power. My story may sound dramatic, even extreme, but betrayal doesn't always come wrapped in lottery tickets. Sometimes it's in the child who dismisses you, the friend who takes advantage, the employer who overlooks your years of work, and in those moments you have to choose, crumble, or stand tall. I chose to stand tall, and for the first time since Harold passed, I feel him smiling down, proud that I carried his wisdom forward. So here's my reflection, plain and simple: wealth doesn't define us, dignity does. Money comes and goes. People will betray, disappoint, and even abandon you. But your name, your story, remains yours if you protect it. And here's my invitation. If my story stirred something in you, if you've ever faced a betrayal or stood firm when others wanted you silent, share it in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me what you've held on to that others tried to take. And if you want more stories like mine, stories of women who've lived, lost, and still found the strength to rise, make sure you hit subscribe. This little corner of the internet is ours, and I'd be honored to share it with you. Because in the end, life isn't about the ticket in your hand. It's about the name written on it and the courage to keep that name your own.